Welcome to the new episode of the Next Move with Venkat podcast. Today we have another beautiful guest with us, Olly, the co-founder of Vapoura Rum. Hi, Olly. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Venkat. Thanks for having me.
So, Olly, could you please tell us about you and the background of Vapoura Rum for our audience?
Sure. So, a friend of mine and I, Ed, we have been rum lovers for a very, very long time. And then when lockdown happened, everyone sort of went for their own passions and their own new pastimes and fillers of time. And ours was very much exploring rum to a deeper level. There was a big interest in provenance of ingredients and farm to fork and where produce comes from. So we took a very, very deep interest in the history of rum and the different types of rum and how they're made. And at the end of lockdown, we came to the very strong conclusion that we really wanted to make our own and release it into the market in a unique way that could really add a point of difference for the market, not just in the UK, but globally as well at some stage. We knew we wanted to make our rum in England. We wanted to get transparency and we wanted proximity to where it was made so we could really stand confidently behind the way it was made, the ingredients that went into it, and the process in general. We knew we wanted to be very much part of that process of development. We don't white label our rum. We don't buy in syrups or additives or base rums. We make everything from scratch, and that's exactly the way we wanted to start our product. We wanted us to be very much part of that process, and that's the way we'll always continue to do things. So it was born out of a desire to produce a really high quality rum here in England and wrap a brand around it that could do the liquid justice, not only in the English market, but globally as well at some stage. A very, very big ambition, which started in a very, very small way with a conversation in the early hours of the morning, as I'm sure many ideas begin after a few drinks in the early hours. And we were adamant at the end of lockdown that we really wanted to bring it to life at the still, off paper and into people's hands. And that's been our journey for the last, I always forget this, but I mean, because it seems like it's so long now, but the idea came around in lockdown, so about 4 years ago. And then we launched the rum about 2 years ago. And now the journey is very much e-com last year and then moving more into trade at the moment, off trade, on trade. So that is kind of where we're at now in a very, very, very small nutshell. There's been lots of twists and turns along the way, as I'm sure there will be going forward, but that's where we stand at the moment. We very much want to produce a really, really high quality rum here in England and do all we can to wrap a brand around it that's unique and adds value to people.
Yeah, got it. So when you wanted to start this Vapoura Rum, the rum brand, the premium rum brand, so what gap did you want to fill in the market?
We really wanted to fill a gap where we thought there was a very, very evident one for us in a luxury or ultra premium rum that was made here in England. You know that there are lots of rums that are brought over from distilleries in the islands. We love those distilleries; they make some beautiful rums. And then, by and large, Ben did it in Shears in Amsterdam, a large factory brought over to England and then bottled, and then they're called English rums. But that's not the way we wanted to do it. We wanted to create a rum from scratch that had a complete transparency for our customers and the way it was made. Very, very, very open and communicative about how it's made, why it's made that way, and why we like to make it that way. There's a very, very strong passion for communicating that our rum is made in a very traditional way. So pot stills, small batch, very much a handcrafted process. It's very time consuming. It's very laboursome, but it gives us a quality liquid that we can have tight control over, which is really important that we get that consistency from batch to batch. So it was very much about, can we fill a gap in not just the UK market, but the global market for a really, really high-end rum, which takes inspiration from the islands, as all the rums do. That's where they originated, and it's where there's some beautiful rums that continue to be made. But we really wanted to bang the drum for English craft, English rum, pay homage to the fact that, rum is traditionally a very much a Caribbean spirit and comes from that Western Hemisphere, but we wanted to do it justice by producing it here in England and wrapping a brand around it that was unique. It didn't take the usual course with many rums that take the swashbuckling pirate mariner approach to delivering rum as a brand, but bring a more contemporary edge to the brand that could offer something a bit more unique to the market.
Yeah. So I already told you, I've gone through your website and it was really so much impressive, the way you designed, the way you presenting the bottles and all. I'm just curious to know, what is the naming convention of you designed the chapter 1 and chapter 2? Is there any reason, or does it have any kind of meanings?
Yeah, it does a big meaning. Actually, it's a very large part of the brand and why we started it. We are an English rum story. We are made here from start to finish. The founders are English. We're proud of English tradition, and we're proud of the quality produce and services that England provide. And we wanted our story to be very much rooted here in England. And as a result of it being an English rum story, we thought it made sense to name our bottles after chapters in the story. So we have chapter 1, chapter 2. We're in the process of barreling chapter 3 at the moment. We don't want to get in the habit of releasing chapter after chapter after chapter, because we want them all to mean something, and also have a quality liquid behind them. But generally, chapters have come from the fact that we love the storytelling aspect of brands and liquid in particular, the heritage of how rum is made, and it felt right to us to follow the English rum story with by naming our bottles after chapters.
Yeah. So if you think about the buyers, so now in the current rum market, the buyers are really caring about the story and the crafting behind the premium rum bottles before they buy anything.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah. In terms of the buyer's perspective, how any kind of each buyer looking at the craft perspective when coming to buying a premium rum bottle?
Yeah, I think the consumer's been far more demanding of that now, and as they should be. There's a lot of products on the market, and I think just like people are when they go and buy food and they go and buy anything they put in their bodies, they want to know where it's come from, how it's been made, who the people are behind it. Is there authenticity? Is there credibility behind what they're doing, and why they're doing it? Are they in there to make a cookback, or are they there to provide value for the consumer? What is value is another question. It's, we want to produce a quality liquid that is well priced, but also there's a significant story behind it, like how it's made, why it's made that way, and why we as founders wanted to make a rum in that way. So I think the consumer is becoming more and more demanding. As I said, I think across the board, and I think with the cost of living crisis and the fact that everything is so expensive these days, if you are asking people to part with £45 and £50 for a bottle of rum, then it's important that you provide value there, And for us, value is the quality of the product, and not just the liquid, but the bottle, the gift box, everything around it. And then also to be very, very clear and transparent about how it's made, what goes into making that liquid, what goes into putting it in the bottle, not just the ingredients, but where do they come from, how are they used, how is it fermented, how is it distilled, what goes into distillation, what goes into fermentation. It's important for us if we're going to charge people, a significant amount of money for our rum, which we feel is fair price because of the quality of it and the time-consuming process that it goes through to get to bottle. They deserve to know not only how is it made, but that we've put time and care and love into making it.
Yeah, that is so interesting. So if we could talk about the current trends in the market, in the industry, especially the spirits industry, what are you observing?
It's so interesting at the moment. We talk about it all the time in meetings. I probably have this conversation 3-4 times a week with Ed and Ross, the founders, and our commercial director. And our marketing team is how is that market moving? I think it's really interesting at the moment because there's a few things happening. There is 2 really noticeable trends from our point of view. One is that hospitality and trade is sadly diminishing in size. Places are shutting down all the time in order to stay open, to pay their business rates, to pay the rising cost of employing people and of raw materials. Places need big checks. They need checks to stay open. And lots of the big companies, Diageo, Pernod Ricard, LVMH, these big guys, they're able to grab large amounts of land in terms of real estate on the back bar in menus because they have the money to do it. And if you don't want to do that, then you need to have, a unique proposition for your consumer to be able to demand high prices. So that's one thing we're noticing is hospitality is shrinking and the type of places that are staying open is changing. To talk quickly to it, nightclubs are closing. Anywhere after midnight is closing. Anywhere that is very, very central to places like in London in particular with high business rates, they're shutting down because they need high footfall. The places that are starting to really succeed at the moment are the places that either have a very, very unique proposition in terms of their food, their events program, and then what we're talking about now is their spirits, their menu, like how well curated are their drinks menus. If there's real thought behind those, then you can demand higher prices and people want to be a part of that. So we're noticing things like high-end gastro is succeeding at the moment, particularly in London and the outskirts of the more wealthy, affluent rural areas. I mean, companies like Dalesford Stays, Cubitt House Group, Public House Group, all doing some great things in that space, really, really elevating what a gastropub means to people. Places like Roof Gardens in Kensington, places offering more, offering a more high quality events program, providing more value through their food, through their beverage offering. These are the places that are starting to really, really pull away from everywhere, I think. So placing ourselves and aligning ourselves with those places is really important for us, not only because we want them to stay open, but because they celebrate and respect independent boutique spirits with a craft story behind it, like ours. The other one, which we all know about all too well, is the rise of e-com. People are shopping more and more online now. They are buying from the amount of clicks you need on your phone to purchase something is getting quicker and easier every day. We're spending more time on our phones, more time online, and the convenience about getting product from warehouses, from brands into our homes is becoming easier and becoming quicker. And we need to recognize that as a brand, and particularly one for us who really prides ourselves on showing up, use this word carefully, showing up in a unique, vibrant, rich way online. You commented like on our website, but our Instagram, our socials, our email, what are we doing on there to really, really provide value for someone who, if you take Instagram for an example, and the classic doom scrolling term is, how do you make people stop scrolling and want to buy your brand or comment on a post about one of the events that you're doing, or are interested in a collaboration you're doing with another brand? What are you doing as a brand to make people sit up and take notice and not only want to buy your product, but to invest emotionally in your brand? That's a big one for us. I think once we all think about it, lots of us are bowled over and drawn to brands that go beyond their products, right? We see it in fashion quite a lot. There's some spirits brands do it really well. Food does it really, really well. Automotive does it really, really well. How do you appeal to a customer beyond just your product? What is the emotional story that you're telling to that consumer for them to want to talk about your product, buy it, tell their friends about it, take it to a dinner party, want to make it for their friends at home? What are you doing in that space to try and, as I said, provide value and essentially drive a higher level of revenue through your e-com, whether it be through a third party e-com like Amazon, or a Master of Malt or Whiskey Exchange, or directly from your website? Those are just to cap it. Those are the two areas: hospitality reducing and the type of venues are staying open, but then the rise of e-com. So we have hospitality doing this and changing, and e-com doing this, and it's just trying to understand how we balance that out in the middle.
Can you please start with the wins first? What is really working for you right now?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's really important with staff and the founders who aren't involved, who haven't been involved in the industry before, is to be really honest about where you're winning and where you're losing, because everyone looks at a flash brand, like a bottles there and the gift boxes there, and they look great with the things are going well, but also there are things that we don't succeed at and things that we are still working out. There's things that we did very, very poorly at the start that if we started again, we would do very, very differently. So I think the wins and the losses are really important to balance up and be very honest about. Wins for us, definitely starting to really find where our product is landing in trade, what type of venues, like I mentioned earlier on, the high-end gastro pubs, likes of Cubit, Dalesford Stays, Public House Group are working really well. Tom Courage is doing some lovely pubs at the moment, which are going really, really well. That area is really strong for us, really strong, has an English tradition behind it, and that links in with our story. And the higher end places as well, like the lifestyle places, like I mentioned, Roof Gardens, Soho House, we're about to move into there, across Soho Farmhouse and Babington House. So we are starting to understand that we're moving successfully in venues where English tradition and provenance and locality is celebrated, and in venues that provide more for their consumers, more value through their food offering, their beverage offering, and their events program. That's where we're finding some real wins at the moment. And our D2C is also starting to move really nicely now. We've gone through a period of really trying to understand what content appeals to our consumer lives, like how do they operate, how do they move through their e-com, what are they interested in. And we're going through a long period of having unsuccessful content, and then we're starting now to really, really find more successful content, which is attracting people to the brand, and then ultimately sales. So that's starting to prove very, very fruitful for us at the moment. We're coming into a really key period now at Christmas when, lots of not only alcohol brands, but hospitality is won and lost sometimes in these Q4 periods when lots of people are shopping online and drinking in trade. So The D2C, the online is starting to win for us, but definitely wasn't winning at the start. We were trying to work out, as I said, what content is landing and what isn't, and being very, very reactive and honest about the data. Sometimes some people are quite blinded by data, but we've been very, very, very honest about reacting to it and pivoting on it very, very quickly. Where we're sold, we're starting to really understand where are we best appreciated, where are we most drunk, and how are we most drunk. Where does our rum best show up in drinks? Is it a tall spritzy cocktail on a summer's day, or is it in a stirred down old fashioned an espresso martini? Again, that's influenced by the venues that we go into. Most of them are premium venues and they want to serve premium cocktails. So things like twists on an espresso martini or a rum old fashioned or a daiquiri, these really high end elevated serves are starting to move really well for us now. I think they're probably the three biggest wins. And then, I mean, in terms of losses, do you want to talk about losses as well?
Yeah, of course, no business is easy sailing. So if we could cover
Yeah,
what is really not working for you.
yeah, of course. I mean, where do you start? We're a startup, so you have tons of them, right? At the
Yeah,
start, we were, I think, very naive about how we costed and produced our rum. We wanted to produce the best rum possible without the need for barreling, because we knew we wanted to take it to market quite quickly. As a result of that, we work with a distiller who has a very, very proprietary, beautiful process around how he ages the rum. He uses oak structures in the rum, not oak chips, but oak structures in the rum to pull out flavor and color in an accelerated way. It's called micro-oxygenization for the geeks out there, of which we are definitely in that category. The byproduct of that is that it's very expensive to do. So we had to make many adjustments along the way around our ingredients without compromising on the quality of it, the supply chain, where the bottle came from, how it was produced, how we package, how we deliver it, where our gift box comes from. So we did all these things at the start, and all we wanted to do was produce the best bottle possible, the best liquid we could. So the product was as good as it can be, but obviously with a mind on what that was going to cost us and what our margin would be, but we didn't drill down enough on the detail. And as a result of that, when you look at your margin, we looked at our margin 2 years ago, we were not particularly healthy as a profit margin. So then I had to really go back to the drawing board and see where we could make adjustments while not compromising on the quality of the liquid or the bottle or the brand, which was difficult and took us a long time to work out. But we've done it. I think we have done it. It's been a painstaking process, and if we'd have gone back to the start, we would have built the model very, very differently. But we didn't have the knowledge or the experience of how to do that effectively. We then brought in a lady called Carly Foxwell, who used to be ex Distill Ventures, now is a founder of Fox in the Well. They're an alcohol and drinks consultancy company who have been pivotal for us in understanding not only our consumer proposition, but understanding where do we sit in the market, who do we appeal to, and how do we build a business. We started off building a brand, but without the knowledge to do it, we weren't really building a business, even though we tried to. When a professional got under the bonnet of our company 2 years ago, she was like, this is great, this looks beautiful and tastes amazing, but you've got some work to do here. And we were very honest and vulnerable about it, and we gave the reins to her many ways in terms of making adjustments, and she's been fantastic for us, and she still works with us to this day very closely, and I hope she always will do. But not having someone on board of her experience was a big mistake for us. And if someone is to go into any business in an area that they don't know inside out, that would be my first point of advice: is spend money on an expert who you trust and who has
yeah,
track record to guide you. If not full time, then bring them on as a consultant and listen to them, because they can, in the early stages, they can make or break that situation, in my opinion. We went very, very hard after brand building in the early stages and didn't balance it enough with moving into trade early enough. So we were doing some fantastic events and activations to build the brand, but we were naive about the impact that it not being available in trade and not being available online would have on us. We didn't capitalize on those events well enough. I mean, there are companies doing what we did now, but like, one company that jumps to mind is Neat Whiskey, NEIT, for anyone that's a whiskey fan or just a brand fan. They're doing some incredible stuff. Like, really beautiful stuff in terms of brand, but you can't buy the bottle anywhere. I'm not saying that's a mistake on their part. I know the founders are very, very experienced and know what they're doing, so I'm sure there's a plan behind it. But they're doing it beautifully, in my opinion. But that was a mistake on our part. People were leaving our activations and our events and talking so complimentary about them and about the brand and the liquid, but then they couldn't go and buy it. They didn't know they couldn't buy it online to take home, and they couldn't go to the next cocktail bar or restaurant or hotel or boutique or whatever these places that we show up in. They couldn't then go and order a drink there, and that was a big mistake on our part. And we've had to really put our foot down in that area to try and catch up. I think we get definitely there now, but in the early days, that was a big mistake.
Yeah, of course, business is all about learning from the mistakes and trying to do and trying to not to do and repeat the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a saying the other day, which was really interesting, because Alex Hormozy, a really interesting chap who shows up a lot on social media, but he basically said that a lot of business and life in general was about who can stay in it the longest. And I think it's so true. You stay in it long enough to learn the lessons and keep bouncing back and bouncing backs and understand learning from your mistakes and understanding they're learnings and not mistakes, and there's no such thing as a failing. It's just a lesson for next time. And the longer you can stay in it, the more resilient you can be, the more chance you have of being successful in the long run. And I think that's so true these days, for startup brands in particular, where money can be tight in the initial phases. It's about staying in it long enough to learn the lessons and succeed.
So if we talk a little bit about the marketing you're doing, especially for the Q4, this is going to be the biggest season of the year. So what kind of strategies you want to implement or you're already implementing?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for us. It's the first year where we've had a full marketing team to be able to implement and execute an actual proper Christmas strategy. So it's quite exciting for us. It's a ton of work to be done, but it's quite exciting. So in trade, we're very much about how can we show up in menus in a unique way. So we developed a Christmas sales strategy around our liquid, with certain cocktails, and very much about how can we provide a unique proposition to the customers around our rum. Rum obviously is great at Christmas time. It's a very Christmassy drink, and our spiced rum is full of some beautiful Christmas flavors: cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom. So it shows up really well this time of year. But for us, it's very much about, can we get a unique proposition into people's menus to try and order more across the bar? Not only to build a relationship with the trade, but to try and win the hearts and minds of and the palates of their customers. Online is a really interesting one. The other one we're doing, which is not really a Christmas, it's more than the next 6 months, is we're targeting quite a lot of listening bars at the moment. Explosion in London of listening bars, and they're starting to now pair with some really beautiful cocktail menus and really great venues. There's very much an analog approach to music, and they have vinyl players and very, very large record collections, and you can go in and either play your own vinyl or choose vinyl from their selection. And not very often they'll have a vinyl DJ in there. People that haven't listened to vinyl, it has a very, very different sound to any other form of music, because obviously it's very, very original, it's very analog, it's very warm and wholesome. It's how music was originally, recorded and played. So it has a beautiful quality to it, and we love that part of that comes back to our craft. We're big into our music, and it's a huge part of how we activate and sharpen venues. So we're doing a collaboration with five venues, whereby we create bespoke vinyls with them. So we choose tracks, they choose tracks, some of our favorite tracks around a certain genre that their customers will choose. And then we are working with the Vinyl Factory. They're a really beautiful vinyl printing company on producing this bespoke vinyl. Each sleeve will be bespoke to the venue. Each vinyl will be bespoke to the venue, and then go in and do a first play evening where the winners of the competition can bring their friends, play the vinyl. We'll have a unique menu on there, but it's just a way of trying to really provide something that's unique and is almost like an artifact for that venue that is completely bespoke. And that's been received really, really well at the moment. We're working with some really, really great listening bars in London. If you haven't looked at this whole concept yet in trade, people should. They're great. They're really good to take with friends too. The drinks are great. They're very, very creative in there. So it's definitely one to check out. London's got some great ones at the moment. Online, how we sharpen our marketing is very much about, it's the gifting theory. So we're doing lots around our gift box, which is there, which we did in collaboration with an English artist in terms of the design that's on the inside, and you can just see below the lid. It's very much about doing really, really unique, beautiful, rich content around the unboxing as well. And again, at Christmas time, the sort of strategy changes. So how we communicate online, how right before is to be drunk if we're important. We can't show up with there's tall spritzy cocktails with umbrellas out. Obviously your sales strategy changes a lot from being quite fruity, quite tall, highball approach to a more stared down, sometimes warm serves like a hot buttered rum or an eggnog, or more than like festive party serves like an espresso martini or an old fashioned or a daiquiri. So our serve strategy changes, and it's important that we communicate that not only on our socials, but to the people at home they're getting our emails. How can we provide value in that space so that people not only know how to drink our rum, but we're providing creative suggestions on how they can drink it. So there's two different approaches. The main one is around being very festive and very, very, very respectful of the time of year and how people drink rum this time of year and drink our rum. And then how do we show up at this gifting period when everyone's, people are buying, I think spirits, jumped by around 70 to 80% in Q4 of the year. So it's important that we capitalize on that like every other spirit brand does. It's a key time. People spend a lot of time online. So we increase our ad spend during this period of time to make sure we capitalize the amount of traffic that's coming in through, not only through Meta, which is obviously Facebook and Instagram, but also Google. And we're looking more and more at TikTok at the moment, which has huge reach. So it's a busy time for us. It's the first time that we've had a full team to execute a Christmas strategy, but that's generally where we're spending our time at the moment. That's how we're showing up in trade and how we're showing up online. And we're looking forward to January and reviewing it and seeing how it all does.
So yeah, before we wrap it up, we already got to know a few things about you and the Vapoura Rum. So what are your future goals? Where do you want to see Vapoura Rum in the next 6 to 12 months?
12 months is a big one for us. We are looking to move outside of London. We are currently, you can buy us in across the bar in Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, Bath, Bristol, London. We're keen to move further north next year and explore cities like Manchester and Birmingham. There's some great things happening there. So we're really looking forward to moving into those areas and seeing how our liquid's received there. And then online, we are increasing our footprint online all the time. We'll be increasing our ad spend. We'll be increasing the amount of content that we're putting out. Looking to grow our team next year as well to be able to deliver more across the brand side and the trade sides. Generally, we have ambitions to go across the UK, not only in trade but also across retail. We've just secured a deal with Whiskey Shop to go national with them. So generally, next year in the trade is about increasing our footprint, moving into other cities, trying to get penetration in different cities around the UK, and very much growing our brand online with a bigger team. That's where we're at the moment. We're very much about. We really feel that we want to become a brand as well as just a liquid. I think it's important that, for me personally, if you have a product or a service, that you offer more than just your product or your service, but you offer us fully people can get behind. You create communities that people feel good about arriving to and being a part of. And next year we'll be big on that as well, as how we do show up and build our community and build our brand around what we're doing.
Yeah, I really wish you all the very best for the next few months and for the rest of your expansion. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining us. It was really fantastic talking with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been the Next Move with Venkat. Drink responsibly and share it with whom they like this kind of content. It helps us to bring us more founders to share their insights with you. Thank you. See you again.